What's good, Newbark, and welcome to your video game news podcast on this excellent June 6th, 2020. As usual, we'll be starting off today talking about some of the best deals in gaming right now. Starting off in the PC space, if you are interested in supporting a good cause while also getting a wonderful deal on a metric ton of indie titles, look no further than the itch.io marketplace. The site has worked alongside hundreds of smaller developers to compile a bundle of 743 games for only $5, with all proceeds being divided between two organizations that aim to help the cause for racial justice and equality. Given the low price tag, the number of games, and most importantly, the benevolent nature of the bundle, this one is quite hard to pass up. Sticking in the PC space, EA has also continued to move more of their titles to being available for purchase on Steam, with 13 new additions, including Mirror's Edge Catalyst, a few Need for Speed games, and some of the Dragon Age games. All of these games are on sale until what appears to be early July. This all seems to be leading up to EA allowing players to access the Game Pass-like EA Access subscription service through Steam, and follows up on EA's promise last year to begin selling their titles on Steam once again. Moving over to the other side of the PC space, there are a few major things to keep an eye on in the Epic Games Store. First, the current free game available on the Epic Store is Overcooked, which is an absolutely wonderful multiplayer experience that is free to claim through June 11th. Second, for the hardcore strategy audience, Epic has secured 1-year exclusivity rights to the newest Total War entry that is set to debut later this year, being Troy, a Total War saga. Additionally, the game will be given away completely free on the Epic Games Store for its first 24 hours, with its launch date being on August 13th. Heading over to the console space, we discussed some of the awesome deals available across most retailers right now for Sony's annual Days of Play sale last episode. But fear not, Xbox fans, as Best Buy has got you covered as well. Right now, Best Buy is offering many great Xbox console exclusive titles at steep discounts that parallel many of those offered by Sony at the moment, with some of the best deals being games like Hellblade, Sea of Thieves, and Forza 7 all being only $10, and some of the more recent releases such as Gears 5 and Ori and the Will of the Wisps being down to $20. Heading over to the Nintendo side of things, it appears the 3DS line of systems may be on its way out, as the console doesn't seem available to purchase anymore on popular retail sites such as Best Buy and Target. And on top of this, there is a major deal available right now on Walmart's website. If you head on over to walmart.com right now, you can secure a black and turquoise new 2DS XL with Mario Kart 7 pre-installed for only $100. As someone who has had a lot of experience with many iterations of the DS line, I have to say the new 2DS XL I personally think is the kind of pinnacle of Nintendo's designing of the system, and is pretty sleek and well made overall. So if you don't have a way to play 3DS games yet, or your system is looking kind of beat up, now may be one of the last times to pick up one of these consoles brand new at such an excellent price, as this is pretty similar to what started happening with Microsoft and their Xbox One X consoles just a few weeks back, before those consoles got, well, awkward to find. Oh, and speaking of Xbox One X systems, if you are holding out for those Cyberpunk 2077 Special Edition consoles, the pre-orders for those went live yesterday for $300 most places, and sold out rather quickly, basically everywhere. So if you come across one in your online searches at a good price point and you are interested, it's probably a good idea to go ahead and jump on it. With all of our deals talk out of the way, let's talk about some of the broader things going on, starting with that big reveal that Sega was supposed to have this week through Famitsu. We all love cloud gaming, right? Well, Sega's introducing what they call fog gaming, which apparently will be a way to harness the power of their arcade cabinet games to be played at home. The idea is for Sega to exploit the power of their arcade hardware, coupled with the online integration they've already bundled into many of their cabinets, so that the machines are able to be played in some capacity, even when the arcade itself may be inaccessible. Some of you who live stateside, like me, may be wondering how any of this is relevant at all, since arcades seem to have been confined to endangered species exhibits inside malls and movie theaters. But in Japan, the arcade industry is still quite prominent, which is why unless Sega makes a massive move to expand the arcade capabilities globally, this fog gaming will likely only be available in Japan. On the surface, it seems like a great idea, as a lot of well-made arcade games can still present their own unique experiences and fun times, but it's also disappointing this likely won't be available to many Sega fans globally, and I can't help but wonder how much of the arcade experience is lost when you aren't able to play with the actual cabinet. Let's move on to an action RPG from the 360 PS3 era I think most of us probably forgot about, Kingdoms of Amalur: Reckoning. The title initially had a remaster set to come out in August of this year leak on Microsoft's storefront earlier this week, before then being confirmed that a remaster of the game under the title Kingdoms of Amalur: Re-Reckoning will be releasing digitally and physically for Xbox, PS4, and PC on August 18th of this year for $40, and is to have all of the DLC from the original game alongside the updated visuals. Having never played the original myself, I looked up a few reviews on the game, and it sounds like it was meant to compete with the likes of games like Skyrim, and despite featuring a fairly generic story, it was praised for its strong action RPG combat system. Since this is an update to a last generation game and it's coming out of THQ, who seems to like the Switch, I can't help but wonder if a Switch port will also come eventually. Moving along, if racing is more up your alley, Bandai Namco have announced that Project Cars 3 will be launching later this year for PC, Xbox, and PlayStation 4, with new features that seem to focus on accessibility for all kinds of players through things like scalable difficulty in the career mode and a slew of new car customization options. We have yet to hear a specific release date for the game. Next, let's hop on over to Konami to discuss something that surprisingly has nothing to do with Silent Hill or gambling. On Wednesday's episode, we discussed how Konami served as the publisher for the new indie Metroidvania game Skeletak, but according to an interview by GameIndustry.biz with Richard Jones of Konami, this is part of a long-term strategy by the company to develop more IPs that Jones described as Western-focused for Western audiences. A link to the full interview will be in the description down below, but it sounds like the idea is for Konami to reach out to some short to mid-term projects for now, looking for developers doing things that are unique and may need some further funding. It will be interesting to see how this progresses for the company moving forward, since they had been seeming to try and distance themselves from traditional gaming to some extent. As a final note before we move into some more console-specific news, AMD is now saying that the first of their Navi 2 GPUs to market will be the enthusiast-level card that is rumored to be a competitor in the top-end graphics marketplace against the best Nvidia has to offer. That being said, depending on how you want to read this, the next generation of consoles will also be based on the RDNA 2 architecture, so it sounds like this enthusiast-level GPU may be beating those to market, which would probably indicate a September or October launch of the card, since AMD has repeatedly said it will come out in late 2020. If this is the case, that will be an interesting time for PC gamers with a new option to consider, and for console gamers, as the card will likely give some insights into how RDNA 2 handles features such as ray tracing on the upcoming consoles. Now let's dive into some more console-specific news and talk about some stuff going on with PlayStation. Bloodborne is a beloved Souls-like game that has been exclusive to the PlayStation 4 platform, though never having received a patch to utilize the PS4 Pro, and never having been ported to another console or PCs, it suffers from frame pacing issues like many Souls games with a 30 FPS cap, and is locked to only 1080p in terms of resolution. Since this isn't an ideal game state, and the title itself is well beloved, this has left many fans clamoring for either an updated version of the game of some kind, or a PC release to get it running more optimally. Current rumors on Twitter from a number of users, including Wario64, as well as a comment from Kinda Funny Games' Imran Khan, where he said, quote, "From Software fans probably have a lot of reasons to be happy in the next 2 years," unquote, have all sparked rumors about a port of Bloodborne to PC, the PlayStation 5, or both. Perhaps we could even see something like Bloodborne Remastered as one of Sony's heavy hitters that they have planned when we do have that PS5 Games event sometime in the coming weeks. Also in the coming weeks, the long-anticipated sequel to Naughty Dog's The Last of Us will be releasing after a number of major plotline leaks online. In an interview with Eurogamer on June 5th, Naughty Dog's Neil Druckmann discussed these leaks and his frustrations with them, but also how the first Last of Us leaked, as did Uncharted 4, yet people still adored those games and got the intended message out of them. He then discussed how the goal of The Last of Us Part 2 was to explore everything a 19-year-old woman could be experiencing in that time of her life through Ellie in terms of her struggles and difficulties, reiterating that there are a lot of misconceptions about the game based on the leaks that are currently out there. While any publisher would defend the game they are working on and encourage people to fully experience the story before making any judgments, I can say I think there is a lot of truth to what he is saying in that a story is as much the journey as it is the ending and beginning, so judging this game off of out-of-context pieces is likely not a fair and complete assessment. Links to the complete interview will be in the description down below. While on the subject of PlayStation exclusives, let's talk about PT, because creator Ambient Truth is working to recreate the game as best they can within Half-Life Alyx. and while the project is nowhere near complete yet, this just goes to show how dedicated the fanbase to that game demo is, as it seems to be recreated in just about everything that could possibly allow it. If Sony really does have something Silent Hill related at their game reveal event, given the popularity of PT, which was meant to be a demo for the Silent Hills game, this only reinforces how huge a Silent Hill announcement could be. Now I'll move on to some PS5 topics, and talk about a patent that came out regarding the PlayStation 5 development kit's cooling system. The patent reveals that there were a number of cooling fans integrated into the development kit, which should aid in keeping temperatures down within the system. Recall that Mark Cerny said during the Road to PlayStation 5 conference that the cooling system was designed to be extremely quiet, after he acknowledged the complaints and issues on current PlayStation consoles in terms of the fan noise. Keep in mind that this patent is for the development kit and could easily mean nothing for the console itself. But if it does have something to do with the console, I'd be very curious to see what occurs when they stray away from the traditional single fan setup consoles have always had, and also how they are set up to minimize noise. While we know the cooling system is supposed to be very quiet for the PlayStation 5, we also know that one of Sony's biggest focuses was the SSD and decreasing load times as much as possible. The SSD within the PlayStation 5 currently has data transfer speeds that nothing on the marketplace can compete with, and this apparently may have had an even bigger impact on games than we think, as the Epic Games engineering vice president said the following in an interview with VG247, quote, "The ability to stream in content at extreme speeds enables developers to create denser and more detailed environments, changing how we think about streaming content. It's so impactful that we've rewritten our core I/O subsystems for Unreal Engine with the PlayStation 5 in mind," which means the PlayStation 5 literally influenced how Unreal Engine 5 works in some way. How and if this will manifest in games development using the engine is hard to say, but part of me is wondering if we may see Unreal Engine 5 games be able to post better performance on the PlayStation 5, despite it sporting a lower overall compute power than the Xbox Series X, though I'm no hardware expert. As usual, Digital Foundry is certain to have some great videos for this upcoming generation in terms of discussing all of these specialties of each console, now that there are far more features that distinguish them than our current generation. With our PlayStation news out of the way, let's talk about the Switch for a few minutes, where Clubhouse Games launched yesterday on the system, alongside a demo for the game that allows you to access 4 of the 51 games for free. The title uses a variety of creative control schemes for each of its games depending on how the Switch itself is oriented, including motion controls and use of the touchscreen, and is currently holding an 83 on Metacritic, which certainly isn't bad for a title like this. In addition to the launch of Clubhouse Games on Switch, owners also received an update to the console that did more than further stabilize the system. The update's main focus was to fix an issue users were facing that would prevent them from adding funds to their account or paying for orders via a credit card, which is pretty crucial for Switch owners during a pandemic. Anyways, thanks for tuning in everyone, and be sure to have a fantastic rest of your day. Also be sure to let me know all of your thoughts, comments, theories, etc. in the comments section down below, and I will catch all of you guys in the next video.